In the summer of 1947, something crashed in the desert outside Roswell, New Mexico. Within 24 hours, the United States Army confirmed it had recovered a flying disc. Within 48 hours, they changed the story. It was a weather balloon, they said. Case closed. For 30 years, it stayed closed. Then the witnesses started talking. This is not the Roswell of Hollywood. There are no dramatic reenactments here. What follows is testimony, sworn, recorded, and in many cases given under oath from the people who were there. Major Jesse Marcel was the intelligence officer at the Roswell Army Airfield. He was the first military official to handle the debris recovered from Mac Brazel's ranch. Marcel held the wreckage in his hands. He examined it in detail. And for the rest of his life, he maintained that what he held was not from any weather balloon, any aircraft, or any device manufactured on Earth. In interviews recorded before his death, Marcel described thin metallic material that could be crumpled into a ball and would immediately return to its original shape. He described I-beams the size of his finger with symbols running along them, not in any language he recognized, and Marcel was trained in intelligence. He described foil-like material that could not be cut with a knife, burned with a lighter, or dented with a sledgehammer. Marcel was not alone. Colonel Thomas DuBose, who was Chief of Staff at Fort Worth Army Airfield, confirmed in a sworn affidavit that the weather balloon story was a cover ordered directly from Washington. DuBose stated that the material shown to the press at the Fort Worth press conference was substituted. It was not what had been recovered from the crash site. He signed this affidavit knowing it would be made public after his death. Brigadier General Arthur Exon, who later became commanding officer of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, stated in recorded interviews that the Roswell debris was transported to Wright-Patterson for analysis. He confirmed that a special project team was assembled to examine the material. He said, in his own words, that the material was from another world and that everyone involved knew it. Then there is the testimony about the bodies. Glenn Dennis was a mortician at the Ballard Funeral Home in Roswell, which held the contract for mortuary services with the Army Airfield. Dennis received a series of phone calls from the base in July 1947, asking about small, hermetically sealed caskets and procedures for preserving bodies that had been exposed to the elements. When Dennis drove to the base, he was met by military police, threatened, and escorted off the premises. A nurse he knew at the base, who he identified only as Naomi Self, told him she had been present during preliminary examinations of small, non-human bodies recovered from the crash site. She described them as approximately 3.5 to 4 feet tall, with disproportionately large heads, greyish skin, and 4 fingers on each hand. She was visibly shaken. Within days, she was transferred to a base in England. Dennis never saw her again. Walter Haut was the public information officer at Roswell Army Airfield. He was the man who wrote and issued the original press release confirming the recovery of a flying disc. For 50 years, Haut said little about what he personally knew. Then, before his death, he signed a sealed affidavit, to be opened only after he died. In that affidavit, Haut stated that he had personally seen the recovered craft in a hangar at the base. He described it as an egg-shaped object approximately 12 to 15 feet long. He stated that he had also seen the bodies, small beings, not human. He confirmed that the weather balloon story was a deliberate cover ordered by Colonel Blanchard, the base commander, on instructions from Washington. The affidavit was opened after Haut's death. Its contents have never been challenged by the United States government. In 1994, the United States Air Force issued a new official explanation. Roswell, they said, was actually the crash of a Project Mogul balloon, a classified high-altitude surveillance program designed to monitor Soviet nuclear tests. In 1997, they issued a second report addressing the bodies, claiming they were anthropomorphic test dummies dropped from high-altitude balloons in the 1950s. The Mogul explanation has been challenged on multiple grounds. Charles Moore, one of the original Mogul scientists, stated that Flight Number 4, the specific flight cited by the Air Force, was never launched. No flight records exist for it. The materials described by Marcel and others do not match any component of a Mogul balloon array. The test dummy explanation faces an even more fundamental problem. The dummy drops did not begin until 1953, 6 years after the Roswell incident. The Air Force's own report acknowledges this discrepancy, but suggests that witnesses may have conflated memories across different years. Multiple witnesses have rejected this explanation publicly and under oath. So what do we actually have? We have the original press release issued by the military itself confirming the recovery of a flying disc. We have sworn testimony from the intelligence officer who handled the debris. We have a signed affidavit from the Chief of Staff at Fort Worth confirming the cover story. We have a commanding general at Wright-Patterson confirming the material was extraterrestrial. We have the base public information officer's sealed testimony describing the craft and the bodies. We have the mortician's account of the phone calls and the nurse. And we have the United States Air Force changing its official explanation twice, 50 years apart, with neither version withstanding scrutiny. Roswell is not a mystery. It is a suppression. The witnesses spoke. The evidence exists. The affidavits are signed. The only thing missing is a government willing to acknowledge what its own people have already said under oath. Next episode, Rendlesham Forest, December 1980. 2 nights of contact at a NATO airbase in Suffolk, England. Military witnesses, radiation readings, a commanding officer's memo that was never supposed to be made public. Subscribe now and follow the evidence. Dated